Hello, welcome to University of Pattern Drafting. My name is Umo. So let's sew this tube crop top together. I absolutely loved creating this. So I thought to share bits of the process with you. So I started out by drafting out my basic bodice pattern. You can see the basic bodice pattern for both my front as well as my back. So it's my front pattern that I'm currently working on, and I am drawing out my bust span line. Remember, your bust span is your nipple to nipple point divided by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and square that line up from my bust point to my waistline before connecting that to my front neckline. So I'll connect this back to the bust point, as you can see, using my pattern master, and then I will draw out all of my darts to contour around my bust. Haven't done that, I'm just drawing out my arm side. I already have a tutorial on princess darts on this YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link to that in the description box. So I'm just drawing out my seam allowance. As you can see, here is my seam allowance, and then I'm going to go ahead and draw out my back pattern. So it's going to be the same thing for my back pattern. I'm going to start by drawing out my bust span line, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. So this is what you can see me drawing for on the bust, from the bust span line to the hem line of my crop top. Do you understand that? So this is the neckline of my back, and then I've gone ahead to impute all of my darts. So because that portion is too curved, remember there's no bust at the back that I'm contouring around, so I'm just going ahead to flatten out that line. And then next thing, now I'm going ahead to impute my zip darts, which is very, very important. My zip dart is 0.75 inches, and I'll just connect that to the back neckline as well as the back hemline. Also ensure that it isn't a pointed thing. Do you understand? Because the back is not pointed, it's sort of like curved, so I've made it curved. So I'm going ahead to impute all of my arc measurements. Remember, your arc measurements are your circumference measurements divided by 4. So in imputing your arc measurements, take into cognizance the darts that you have marked out. So that's what you can see me doing. I am taking into cognizance my darts, and then this is my side seam line. I'm also going to go ahead and impute the same 1 inch seam allowance at that back. So that's what you can see me doing. This is 1 inch all the way around. I'll work on that point because the paper wasn't wide enough. So having done that, I'm going to proceed to drop that back neckline. Very, very important, because you don't want that back looking very, very weird. So you drop that back neckline almost to the level of your arm side. So after doing that, now go ahead and measure from your shoulder to where the front neckline sits, and then from your shoulder to where the back neckline sits. Now you add both figures and subtract 1 to derive your strap length. So I'm just tracing out my markings. Now remember that your front shoulder to waist is always longer than your back shoulder to waist. So we took care of that using that front side that you can see me mark out. So when I'm cutting this out, when I'm cutting out my pattern, I'm going to manipulate out that side dart. So that's what you can see me doing right now. You can see I taped it with cello tape. So this is it. I've gone ahead to cut this out, and then I've cut out on my fabric. So I'm just going ahead to notch. Now notice that I ironed air stay to my fashion fabric as well as my lining fabric. So this is what this actually looks like, and I'm just going ahead to notch my bust points, my under bust, just so that I don't make mistakes when I'm joining my panel pieces together. So now notice that I lined my center front and my center back with the same fashion fabric. I like to do it that way because it just makes your work appear neater. So now this is the wording that I'm going to be working with, and I'm going to be padding just the front part, obviously. So this is my front panel, the side panel for my front that I'm cutting wording out for. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim both the top and the bottom 1 inch away from the wording. Do you understand? So the wording is shorter by 2 inches. That's 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. So this is me going ahead to join this. So in joining this, very, very important, there's actually a technique to joining this thing. So you have to follow that very important technique. So now I'm going ahead to join the other side. You can see I've joined one side of the panel. Now the side panel must always be on top, while the middle panel would always be on the center, the feed dog, sorry. So this is me joining this. You can see the way I am sewing this up. The technique is really important, and ensure that your seam allowance is not more than half an inch. Should be between 3/8 to half an inch. And if you are not a pro, ensure that you pin your pieces together before you go ahead to actually join them, so that it won't be much of a headache to you. So this is me just joining my panel pieces together. Very, 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 very important that you follow the right technique. So I haven't joined this together. This is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and iron what I have joined. So in ironing, ensure that you're ironing the seams open and flat. So I'm using my ball. I don't know what else that is called. I actually call it a ball. So I'm just ironing my seams open. This is really important. You have to iron those seams open with steam iron, so that that portion is flat. So after ironing the inside, you'd also have to go ahead and flip it to the right side and also iron it with the same ball, so that you're kind of molding the shape of the bust. Do you understand? You're kind of trying to mold the shape of that bust. So you can see me ironing the right side as well. This is really important because you need that portion to be, you know, well molded. Now after ironing it this way, you can also go ahead and just put patches of stay along just that seam area. Do you understand? Just to ensure that the seam stays flat. So I'm just going ahead to join both my front and my back. Remember, my seam allowance was 1 inch, so that's what I am marking out. And I'm going ahead to join both front and back pieces with the side seam, and then I'll proceed to fix the zip. So having fixed the zip, this is what it looks like. I've actually even turned it. You can see the inside. I really love the way the inside of my outfits always look, because of the way I line it. So this is what it looks like. You can use hemming gum to finish up that open edge that you use to close, to turn your garment inside out. So this is the sleeve. I'm going ahead to cut the sleeve. So this is my sleeve pattern. Remember that I said your strap length is your shoulder to neckline in front plus your shoulder to neckline at the back minus 1. So that's the formula we're going to be using. So my front neckline was, I think, 6 inches. My back neckline was, I think, 7.5 inches. That's 13.5 inches minus 1. That's 12.5 inches. So remember that this is for both front and back. So we'll divide that into 2. So that's 6.5 inches. Now remember that this sleeve has gathers. I'm going to, you can see how the sleeve looks. It has sort of like gathers at the shoulder area. So because of that gathers, because we want fullness, multiply that 6.5 again by 2. You're back to your 13 inches. So the length of the top of our sleeve pattern should actually be 13 inches, or at least, let's say, 10 inches, which is what I use. So measure your arm side. So that's your front arm side and your back arm side. So you can see me measuring it across my side seam, do you understand, to the back. So what I have is 8 inches. Do you understand? Divide that by 2 and ensure that your off-shoulder sleeve starts from at least 5 inches. So that's what you can see me marking. So I'm going to just bend my sleeve pattern from that 5 inches mark that I made initially. Can you see? That's where it sits. So I'll just mark that point and bend it over, because I don't want to mutilate this pattern. So I'll just bend it over, and then this is how I'm going to be drafting my sleeve pattern. So you can see that the middle of my sleeve doesn't start on, is not placed on the fold of the fabric. Do you understand? This is because of the fact that we need 13 inches, do you understand, between the fold of the fabric and, or maybe say 10 inches, because I eventually used about maybe 11 inches. So you can see that, you can see what I have. Do you understand? That's 6.5, and then at the top I have another 5 inches. So in total that's about, let's say, 12 inches or so. So can you see the way I'm cutting my sleeve pattern? So between the fold and where the armhole of your sleeve, do you understand, continues from, should actually be that 12 inches so that you can gather it. I didn't want mine to be so full, so I just used 12 inches. Now the length from this off shoulder portion of your sleeve should be 20 inches so that it gives it room to be really full, you know, and all that. So that's what I used 20 inches. So that's what you can see me marking from the folded top of my sleeve. So I'm just going ahead to cut this out, and then I would also cut for the second sleeve. There's already 1 inch seam allowance on this sleeve pattern. That's why I didn't bother. So all you need to do is just impute maybe half an inch seam allowance, as you can see me doing at the arm side, and then at the top as well. Do you understand that? So you can see what the sleeve pattern actually looks like. I hope this is clear. So this is what the second sleeve is going to look like. I'm just cutting out the second sleeve, and then as for the belt, I'm notching the middle, by the way. As for the belt, the width of the belt should be about 4.5 inches, depending on how fat you want it to be, and the length can be about 25 inches, 20 inches, 30 inches, depending on how long you want it to be. Now I could have attached the belt in the middle of the front and back panel. However, I want to be able to detach the belt if I want to, so I'm just going to top stitch it, you know, on top by the side. Do you understand? So this is the way I'm just going to attach it. I'll just sew it on top, finish. Do you understand that? So this is what the sleeve the belt area looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work on the sleeve. Now you need to first whip around the raw edges of your sleeve, the fabric that you cut for your sleeve. Do you understand? So after doing that, now hem it. So your hem should be about 3/4 inches. So just fold it once by 3/4 inches. Do you understand? So now that we folded it, we'll now insert the elastic in between. So now I've done the first one. I'm going to show you how to do this one. So you can see what the sleeve pattern actually looks like. Can you see that? That top that I was talking about is what is about maybe 13 inches or so. Do you understand that? So this is it. Now for that portion that is 13 inches, you can make your elastic maybe about 6 inches shorter. Do you understand? Or 5 inches shorter. So you can make your elastic about 7 inches, you know, for the top, and then you now push it in. So before you push it in, you have to first pin safety pin to it. So you just be using the safety pin to push it into that loop that you've created. Do you understand? By hemming it. So can you see? So you're holding it at one end and you're trying to push it out through the other side. So can you see what it looks like? So now see what it looks like. You now go ahead and sew the two edges. Do you understand? So that you hold the elastic in place. You can see that I've sewn the two edges to hold the elastic in place. So can you see? I prefer to use this really tiny elastic that is half an inch because it's not tight, it's just okay on the body. So this is for the wrist area. For the wrist area, the width of the elastic can be maybe 7 inches or so. So pin safety pin, can you see what I was saying? Pin safety pin to it and then pass it through that loop. Do you understand that? So you can see me passing it through the loop. So go ahead and attach that to your sleeve, and voila, this is what the top looks like. I absolutely love this top. So you can see how curved it is around the bust area, just really fitting. So if your princess that doesn't fit as perfectly as mine, then you need to join my princess that's strapless garments and Ashobi masterclass. Here is the flyer, and I'm going to put that seller link in the description box. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, ensure that you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to this channel, ensure that you subscribe to this channel before this video ends. Thank you.